we would have gotten away with it.
If it hadn't been for these meddling kids.
Yeah, everybody's trying to unmask the true villain behind the assassination of conservative commentator Charlie Kirk and what his political leanings are. Was he a liberal? Was he a groyper? Was he MAGA? Is he part of a vast liberal network hell-bent on destroying America, Jesus, and your little dog too? I don't know. No one really does. But it's been nearly 2 weeks since the shooting, and we definitely have more questions than answers. But I do have some updates on this topic. So hit subscribe to Really American Media. Let's see if we can sort this all out and make Scooby-Doo proud, because I trust a bunch of meddling kids more than I trust our FBI, currently led by a couple of mega podcasters. Nothing against podcasters. Oh, and speaking of podcasters, our vice president managed to find some free time earlier this week to host the Charlie Kirk podcast, and he had Stephen Miller on, who took the chance to make some pretty wild accusations.
We are going to channel all of the anger that we have over the organized campaign that led to this assassination to uproot and dismantle these terrorist networks. The organized riots, the organized street violence, the organized campaigns of dehumanization, vilification, posting people's addresses, combining that with messaging that's designed to trigger and incite violence, and the actual organized cells that carry out and facilitate the violence. It is a vast domestic terror movement. And with God as my witness, we are going to use every resource we have at the Department of Justice, Homeland Security, and throughout this government to identify, disrupt, dismantle, and destroy these networks and make America safe again for the American people.
Yeah, so Mr. Miller there seems to think there's a vast left-wing cabal out to get the right, and that anyone who voted blue is to blame. Yeah. NBC had a college professor on this morning who's an expert on the topic of extremist groups, and here's what he had to say.
Well, the first thing to say about the motive is we don't have the detailed motive on why the shooter attacked Charlie Kirk. However, we have a pretty good macro picture. You'll recall the governor of Utah, others talk about he came from a liberal ideology, the word fascist on the casing. So we really can expect there's going to be more and more information that he had a what we would call a liberal ideology. That said, that's very different than saying there's this vast network of groups and organizations that are fomenting terrorism.
Okay, that's interesting. So he appears to have a liberal ideology because he's against fascism. So I guess that makes him and anyone who fought in World War II a leftist. And since he's not anti-LGBTQ, that means he has a leftist ideology. Now, I would say that given that roughly 70% of Americans support gay marriage nowadays, or marriage equality as it should be called, I would actually say the guy's got more of a centrist ideology. But MAGA, they are just tripping all over themselves trying to prove that he is a radical leftist. And I've got some bad news for them. NBC has new reporting out today that according to 3 sources at Trump's DOJ who are familiar with this investigation, one of them said, quote, "Thus far, there is no evidence connecting the suspect with any left-wing groups. Every indication so far is that this was one guy who did one really bad thing because he found Kirk's ideology personally offensive," end quote. And you know that's accurate because if they had any proof that any sort of leftist group was involved, Trump would be rage tweeting that from his toilet 24/7. And on the newest episode of the Vocal Minority Podcast, we discussed all of this, including skepticism around the texts that were released between the alleged shooter, Tyler Robinson, and his roommate. We also get into how being gay and growing up in a Trump-loving MAGA family factors in, and why the DOJ deleted a report showing that the majority of political violence in America comes from the right, and why Trump really designated Antifa as a domestic terror group. There's more to that than you may realize. So let's jump right into that discussion.
First of all, did you see the transcript of what a lot of media outlets are calling alleged texts?
Yes.
Do you know why they're saying alleged?
No, I guess I don't. No, I guess I do not.
Well, first of all, we have not actually seen the messages. We've only seen a transcript that Trump's FBI has decided to release. And a whole bunch of people are wondering if they're legit because it is a perfect script, a little one-page script. Like, did you do this? Yes, I did it. Here's why I did it. I hid the gun. Like, it's a perfect little script outlining everything. They're also talking in ways that, you know, my love and it was near my vehicle. Like, they're talking in ways.
A 21-year-old doesn't talk that way.
Right. Yeah. And in a normal world, again, I would not question if the FBI or whatever presidential administration put that out. But because Trump is such a notorious liar and a bluffer, and they rewrite things they've done, like, I don't believe it. And I feel a little conspiratorial to even be saying that. But this is the environment Trump has bred by being a constant liar that I can't even believe something that the FBI is putting out. That's the first part.
You're spot on. I mean, Rachel and I have been walking around all week long saying things and then saying, like, I'm not one for conspiracy theories, but
I was going to say, I mean, we're getting it again from sources that we have to wonder, but just envision this. If you're a kid growing up in conservative Utah in a mega Trump family, you have probably gotten all sorts of anti-gay messaging throughout your life. And then you go through your teenage years and you start to realize you're gay yourself. And you've been trained on weapons, obviously. This guy knew how to fire a gun very, very well. And then he gets out in the real world, and they're trying to say, oh, well, college indoctrinated him to liberalism. Now, first of all, he went to a college in Utah in the year 2021 when we weren't even doing in-person schooling anymore. So you're telling me one semester at a remote college in Utah just radicalized him to the crazy left world? No, he started to get out into his adult life and realize, like, I'm gay. I've been surrounded by all this hatred. I know how to fire a weapon. Charlie Kirk, all my classmates all love that guy. Like, not justifying it, but I'm saying he came from a conservative background. He was gay, all of this stuff in his head. And like a lot of people that get bullied, eventually you punch back. Not justifying it. I'm just saying that is what this appears to be. And he's still not a Democrat, and he's still not a Republican. He's unaffiliated. So I guess all of you nonpartisan people or non-affiliated voters, you're the problem if we're just going to assign it that way. Did you see this crazy story this week that the DOJ deleted a report from their website that outlined the history of domestic terrorism in the last, 30 years, and the report showed very clearly the majority of it comes from the right. And then just magically one day last week, they delete it from their website as if that deletes it from existence.
You ever hear someone say, oh, you're just living in a simulation? Mm-hmm. I feel like now is the time that we are actually forcibly moving into a simulation, because the government is going to start controlling everything that you see, that you read, that you hear, that you believe.
Yeah.
We are on our way to that right now. I don't say it as a joke. I mean, I'm not clutching my pearls. It's happening right now. We're witnessing it.
Yes, and even a week ago, I would have told you sound like a conspiracy theory nut job. But no, you're absolutely right. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy going on. All of this deep state conspiracy and crap, and now they're making it a reality. And that article I was just talking about, or the report that the DOJ deleted, quote from it. Since 1990, far-right extremists have committed far more ideologically motivated homicides than far-left or radical Islamic extremists, including 227 events that took more than 520 lives. In the same period, far-left extremists committed 42 ideologically motivated attacks and took 78 lives. 520 lives versus 78 in 227 events versus 42. And Trump and everyone else has the balls to say the bullets are only coming from the left. The left is the party of murder, as Elon Musk said this week.
Yeah, you're being lied to. I mean, the stats you just gave don't surprise me one iota, dude, because we see it.
Trump is coming after the left. He is going to try to crack down on all this stuff. And it was yesterday, maybe the day before, he declared Antifa an extremist organization so that they can go after them. And initially, a lot of people, including myself, laughed because Antifa is not an actual organization. It's an ideology. There's no club. There's no membership. There's no structure to it. So, you designated somebody extremist that aren't a real group. But then you got to think that allows him to then call anyone he wants Antifa, like those protesters. Because you can't prove a negative. You can't prove they're not Antifa because there is no Antifa. But if he deems them to be them, then he can prosecute them for hate speech, hate crimes, federal crime, whatever it is.
Yeah. Don't laugh off things that seem outrageous or ridiculous because it's happening in 2025 America.
Right. And by the way, my last thought, I always crack up at the right being against Antifa. Does that mean they're pro-Tifa? They're pro-fascist?
They're pro-fascist?
I mean, how does that make you look, you idiots?
Yeah, so let's cut that off there. And just to recap, as I said originally, we've got more questions than answers still. But we do now know that investigators have come up empty so far in their attempts to link Tyler Robinson to any sort of vast liberal network or any sort of left group at all, and that the Trump regime is determined to come after the left and blame us for all of this no matter what, even though it is well documented that the right is the more politically violent party. In an ideal world, we would have a president that just comes out and says, we've got political violence on both sides. Doesn't matter which one is worse. We need to unite the country. But that's not going to happen. There is nothing ideal about America under the Trump rule. So don't hold your breath waiting for anything positive to come out of all this. In the meantime, we're going to keep covering it all right here. So please like this video, comment below, get vocal. From the Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve podcast. And by the way, the newest episode is up now right here on Really American under the live tab. That's where all of this came from. So go check out the full episode. I'm Steve Harness for Really American Media.